Okay, I'm gonna have to edit that later. Turn the fan off.
Already?
Yeah. Aloha, it's Antonio with HypnosisProductReviews.com. Today I'm interviewing one of my friends, I guess I can call him colleague, and awesome musician, Keith Livingston from Hypnosis101.com.
Hey, Antonio.
Today we're going to do, oh, there's an ominous voice right now. The ominous voice of Keith. I think it's probably better that you actually play guitar, maybe not sing. Maybe I'm wrong on that one. So today we're going to do a fun little thought experiment. He's going to use some of his brand of change work to help me overcome one of my many issues. And one of my jokes is I tell people I have more issues than Playboy. Like everybody on this planet, we all have problems. How you doing, Keith?
I'm doing good, Antonio. I've been looking forward to this, and I'm ready to go.
Definitely. So I'm going to figure out how I can do a little cross-screen editing. That should be good. Either way, they're going to hear an ominous voice. So most of the time, I'm probably going to have my face on here, and I'll have your face in a little bitty corner. Before we kind of get into the whole nuts and bolts and the meat and potatoes, give my audience a brief background of yourself.
Well, I got started interested in NLP and hypnosis in about, well, first of all, when I was a kid, like 13 years old, I picked up my first book on self-hypnosis. I was, of course, fascinated by how the mind worked. And then in the mid-'80s, I started reading about NLP and took an NLP practitioner training in the 90s and have been teaching since about 1998. And as you mentioned, I run a website, Hypnosis101.com, and I have a range of products, mostly oriented toward people who want to learn to do NLP and hypnosis to help other people rather than for self-help.
And here is a shameless self-plug. If you look above or below this video, there will be a link. Click on it. It might be a specialized link for what we're going to do today. Either way, click on that link. It's an affiliate link, so it makes me money. It makes me rich. Actually, not rich, but it helps me to pay for my rent and for my electricity so I can do this kind of stuff. So I always tell people, I'm a salesperson, and I'm like, look, if you're up front, people like it. If you're trying to dress around the issue, if you're trying to act not like a salesperson, they know that you're trying to pull the wool over their eyes.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important to, and that's why it's our job to show people what value it is that we have to offer, and that's what we're going to do here today. We're going to show them how, and we're talking about regression therapy today, we're going to show them how regression therapy works, and they'll come out of the other side of this broadcast with a new understanding about how to do this kind of thing.
And while we do that, I'm going to rechange my window where I'm going to be editing my face. Aha, perfect. Okay, that'll work. So I can probably keep you on the screen most of the time.
Oh, thank goodness.
I know, because look, God, what a smart ass. You see this? And the reason I'm wearing this hat is because I'm going on a journey today. And the fact that my hair is not too conducive for a podcast today. But yeah, we'll get back to the man of the hour and the smart ass. That's one thing I love about you, Keith, is you have a great sense of humor. There's a lot of people that are pretty stuffy in this community.
Yeah, everybody takes themselves real seriously, and that's cool, because the general public thinks hypnosis is weird and woo-woo, and so I think a lot of people overcompensate and try to appear official. But I know, for instance, that learning happens very often. It happens best when you're having fun. So that's my attitude. I like to have fun myself. I don't want to be serious. So especially when you're working with people that do have serious trauma in their lives, honestly, they've spent enough time feeling bad, so let's help them feel good. Not every part of every session is going to be joy-filled and fun and a laugh riot, but you do as much as you can to help those people experience good feelings. And the other reason that I'm a smartass a lot is that in NLP terms, what I'm doing as a therapist is looking for resource states all the time. So I want people laughing, I want people having fun, because I'm going to be able to anchor that and then use it later to help them get over whatever problem they have.
You know, it seems like also like being serious, if you're way too serious, you end up like not having a full head of hair.
That's right, and so I was very, very serious in my early days, and as you see, this is the result.
Yeah, I can imagine. You know, it's funny. A really quick side story about anchoring. I think I might have told you this story. Maybe about a year or two ago, I was doing a lot of anchoring at work, so doing booking activities with a timeshare presentation, because you know everybody loves going to a timeshare presentation, setting people up for a timeshare, give them a discount, etc. I had a psychologist. When I gave him my card, because he wasn't sure if he wanted to do the presentation. I didn't want to push him, so I gave him my card. My card on it says hypnotherapist, etc. And all of a sudden, you know, a lot of psychologists, this guy told me, he's like, oh, that stuff's BS. It doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. So in the back of my mind, I was like, well, I'm going to have a little fun here. So I started anchoring a bunch of confusion. And a lot of time when people go on vacation, they forget what time it is, what day it is. So I'm like, today's Friday, even though I knew it was Saturday. He's like, yeah. And I was like, are you sure? As soon as I saw like glassy eye, I think I maybe anchored with like a pen tapping on the table. So I did a little bit of anchoring confusion, and then later, so I went back to my pitch, and every objection he gave to me, I would fire off the anchor. So I did this just for shits and giggles. He ended up booking the presentation. You could tell he walked away. And here's a good example of how hypnosis and NLP, you can't make people do what they don't want to do, because he walked away. But when the cloud of confusion left, like 10 minutes later, he came back. He's like, I have no idea why I just signed up for that. In the back of my mind, I'm like, I know exactly why he signed up for it, because obviously hypnosis and NLP is bullshit.
Yeah, well, you know, it's unfortunate that it's looked at that way in some quarters, but quite honestly, the truth is there's a lot of psychology, and people don't understand this. The psychology that they teach in college, a lot of it is just not valid. It's not backed up by any kind of studies. Now, there's not a lot of studies about NLP out there either, but it's kind of the pot calling the kettle black. And you know, one of the very few good things about what's happening in America is that there's a lot of, well, this isn't the good thing, but there's a lot of economic pressure in health organizations. And so I know some people that work in some of the bigger health organizations in the country. And what they've found is that the corporate grind is putting pressure on them to be more and more effective, because they want to be able to charge. If somebody comes in with a mental health problem, they want to be able to get them out of there in 3 sessions instead of 12. And so they're leaning more and more heavily on evidence-based psychology, so stuff that you can actually study and find out if it works or not. And lo and behold, what happens is that they're coming more and more toward the cognitive behavioral model, which is, you know, very simplified. What you think affects how you feel, and that affects what you do. And NLP is a part of that cognitive science, but it's just much more detailed than most of the other thought-based therapies, because the way we divide thoughts up, because of you know, the representational systems, because of submodalities. So things are swinging our way, and I'm happy to see it.
You know, I don't want to go too far on the subject, but I have a friend here who's a therapist. We were talking about mindfulness practices, and he said that a lot of the evidence-based therapies that are coming out in the past, like maybe 15 years, a lot of them have a core component of mindfulness. I've been using it for myself, and it's helped tremendously with my levels of stress.
Well, you know, Bill O'Hanlon, William Hudson O'Hanlon, who was, there's a long story about how he ended up gardening for Milton Erickson and then studied with him for years. He writes a newsletter, and he sent one out. He was making a joke about mindfulness, and he said he's going to do a seminar on mindlessness. And so I wrote him back, and I said, hey, I'm doing one on the law of repulsion, and but I don't recommend you go to it. And he thought that was so funny, he sent out a newsletter with my joke in it. So just so that you know, I'm Erickson's gardener's joke writer.
Ah, that is good. Yeah, Bill's good. I've got a couple of his books. He actually got a couple of his books. He's got a stack like that big of his books.
He's excellent.
Okay, now on to the meat and potatoes of it. I'm going to switch to my ugly mug. I'm sure I'm going to hear some kind of fanfare from Smartass over there. Oh, and by the way, I probably should have given you a warning. Sometimes I can cuss here and there, so if you don't like cussing, you might want to turn away like 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago.
Me too.
Little late. Here. Okay, there it is. So, a couple days ago, I was talking to Keith about doing a demonstration. I mean, maybe to help me with some of my issues, and he decided we came to the conclusion we should do some regression-based stuff. So I told him I've tried to do some regression-based stuff with some ideomotor work, doing with like a pendulum and whatnot. And I found regression can be really hard to do on oneself. It's usually, in my opinion, it's better, or my experience, it's better to have somebody guide you through it. So if you, I don't know how you want to proceed with this.
Well, so Antonio, we just talked for just a few minutes before this, and basically what we came down to is that you have a list of things that you want to work on, and I say we just pick whatever one is most important to you, and just tell me what the issue is, and we'll go from there.
Okay, do you want me to go from the list from A to Z?
I just pick if you look at that list, what's the most important one to you? It's a long, long list of things that are wrong with Antonio.
Very, very long list. Take a number of problems.
And keep in mind, folks, that's only his list. The list that other people have may be even longer.
Yeah, no kidding. See, three things. I'm sure there's more, but I don't want my. Because I'm very analytical. I could be one of those people that will study a goal setting method for a week before I even do it. Three things: procrastination / not following through on things, feeling stuck, which that might actually coincide with the procrastination. I get this overall stuck feeling, and I think one of the biggest things is feeling like I can't change, which it's kind of like needing credit to get credit, if that makes sense. So it's like the needing credit to get credit. I know I can use these techniques to change, but then I need that change, blah, 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 blah. Big snowball effect.
So out of those three right there, Antonio, which one would you say is the most global and has the biggest effect on your life?
Feeling like I can't change, because if I can change, I could work on feeling stuck and procrastination.
Okay, that's kind of what I was thinking as well. It seems like that one might even contain the other two to a certain extent. So,
and that's why you're the expert.
I wondered. So can you think in your mind of a time where you wanted to change, but you had that feeling of not being able to change?
Let me think. The past couple of weeks, I've been using Igor Ledachovsky's Beyond Self-Hypnosis program. Excellent product. It's just sometimes I'll go through one of the exercises and maybe I'll get up to go smoke a cigarette. And I know I smoke cigarettes. I tell everybody, I've got a pulse. It's one of my problems. I'll work eventually. Okay, to segue back, yeah, with I think with Igor's program, I knew I had to do some work, and I would kind of just brush it off. I almost get maybe like a tenseness in my chest, and maybe like a voice that says, you know what, I'll do this later on. What if this stuff doesn't work?
Okay, so the language that you're giving me there is indicating that this, I'm not sure if this is just what you think happens or what actually happens. So if you would, just go back in time mentally to that moment and relive that moment when you made the decision not to follow through with it, and notice what happens in your mind.
Almost like a overwhelm. I've actually got a different situation, which is much more clear. It's a different context. This goal setting thing I was doing, I had this big whiteboard.
Is it the same feeling?
Yeah, kind of. It's kind of like not really, almost like helpless, kind of overwhelmed.
Okay, thank you. So you can stop thinking about that now for a minute. All right, come back to me, open your eyes, shake it off, change your body position a little bit. So in those situations where you've been feeling, can I call it overwhelmed? Is that an accurate word?
Yeah.
How would you like to feel in those situations?
Um, I don't know if I want to go for like a really powerful state. So a lot of people want to just want to. It's almost like a band-aid effect. Like almost like a state of, I guess, confidence and certainty, like something that like motivated.
Confidence, certainty, and motivated. So so let me just make sure I've got this just the way that I want it. So if I could wave a magic wand and make you feel any way that you wanted to feel in those situations that previously have been overwhelming, confidence and certainty and motivated would be what you choose.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So has there ever been a time in any context, I'm sure there has, when you've been confident and certain and motivated?
Yeah. Well, wanting to go or working on getting money to get to HypnoThoughts Live the past 2 years.
So you were just describe that to me just a little bit.
I was working at the job I work at. I know I had to get some fat bonuses, so I would go to work, just kind of just like pushing through, almost like I guess like a train kind of moving at breakneck speeds, being just really excited. And there wasn't really any doubt in my mind that I was going to make the money. I was absolutely positive I was going to get the money.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's cool. That's a great resource. Now, we're here to talk about regression. If I was with you in a session right now, that would be a resource that I would look for. I might do an anchor collapse or something here, but we're going to use that in regression. So if you just think for a minute, you think about that train barreling through. There's no doubt in your mind. What is it? What imagery is in your mind as well?
Well, I can see myself. I'm standing in my timeshare booth. I can almost see people almost lining up, and then in my hand I've got the pieces of paper that that my customers need to take to the timeshare, and each piece of paper basically represents $100 right there.
Okay, so and as you're imagining that, are you feeling the feelings of certainty, motivation, and confidence?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I can kind of feel my chest, kind of get a little smile going on.
Okay, so what would you need to do in order to make that a lot?
I'm not really sure.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so come back to me for a second here. So I'm curious, Antonio, you used the language, I can see myself doing this stuff. Now, usually when we visualize ourselves dissociated, accomplishing a goal, that's more motivating, but you might be different, so let's check that out. Would you do that same imagery, only step into it and be their first person, so you can see the papers, you see the customers lined up at the door, you know each one is $100.
It's a little more motivating. I think when I said I see myself, and it was almost like it's like I was in it. I don't know if I can describe it. It's almost like there's two parts. Like I was in two parts at the same time. Like I was, you could see the whole booth, my whole timeshare booth here, got the desk here, computer, customers here, holding paper. It was almost like a ghost image.
Okay, so that's interesting. So what about it? What about it is ghosty? Can you see through it?
Kind of.
Okay, so make it more realistic so that you can't see through it, and notice if that creates more motivation or less.
A little more.
Okay, so the more realistic it gets, the more you feel it. And I'm looking from your physiology, I'd say that was more than a little more. Is that right?
Yeah, can you see my breathing?
Yes, I can see you breathing. Okay, so where do you feel this feeling of confidence and certainty in your chest? I'm sorry, where do you feel this feeling of confidence and certainty?
Oh, chest here. Wow, you're a magic man.
Is
Chest here, I
that,
can kind of my arms, a little bit in my legs right here.
is there any movement to it?
It's kind of in the chest, and it feels like it flows out to my arms and kind of down to my legs.
Okay, so imagine that it flows out to your arms and down to your legs. Does it leave your body at any point?
It kind of just shoots out towards the computer, out to outer space.
Okay, so imagine that it shoots to outer space, and out there it turns around and it comes back in to the very point when the feelings start. And so all that energy you're sending outward, all the confidence and certainty that you're exuding, feeds right back into where it starts, and it cycles faster and faster, and that feeling, those feelings get stronger and stronger, and you feel incredible confidence and certainty. And when I say confidence and certainty and motivation, that is your cue to feel these feelings. And each time that you feel them, you'll get better at them, they'll get stronger, it's going to come on quicker and more powerfully each and every time that you do it, because that's the way humans work. They get better over time. Okay. You can feel that for a few seconds here, because it's kind of good.
You could definitely see my face. Here, I have to turn my camera back on. Hey, you can. I don't know if people can see my face. I can definitely got the grin going on. I can definitely feel that.
Okay, so now what we're doing here is, just for those of you out here watching, typically so much of hypnosis and NLP is about getting somebody in a resourceful state at the right time. For instance, somebody who has a fear of public speaking, they have the ability to feel calm in some other context. So if we can just attach that to the public speaking context, then they'll be good. And that's what hypnosis and NLP are really great at. They're good at attaching one thing to another. The old stage hypnosis cliche is, you know, the stage hypnotist snaps their finger and somebody clucks like a chicken or barks like a dog. Well, there's nothing inherently about finger snapping that leads to chicken clucking. It's a suggestion. Things are linked together with suggestion. That's what we're going to do. We found a resource for Antonio that should really be able to help him. And we're going to link it to the context that he's been having problems with it. And so that's what we've done so far. We've found a resource state. Now, Antonio, you talked about two separate instances when you had this feeling of overwhelm. And I'd like you just to go to those and you won't have to feel them for very long, but just step into one of those and notice where you feel those feelings.
My chest, I kind of feel my whole body slipping down. Chest, kind of legs. It's give a color. It's kind of like gray. It just feels like
Okay.
it almost feels like the serious depression I used to have years ago, which is no longer a problem.
It's interesting. This regression is going to be very easy for you because of something that I'll explain for you in a second. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is concentrate on those sensations and say to yourself inside your mind, go to an earlier time when I felt these same sensations, and just notice what thought you get.
Okay.
What do you get?
I have a memory of, and I know this memory. It's a memory I saw it from an outside perspective of me looking by myself. I know my grandpa and grandma, and I'm not trying to say anything about them. I love them to death. I think there was a situation years ago. I heard about this in retrospect where I was probably like 4, maybe 5, where I think my grandpa and grandpa, maybe they were drinking a little bit. I think maybe they fell asleep. I think I wandered down to they live by a lake in Michigan. I think I walked down there, and I was just I was feeling lonely. Neighborhood found me, apparently.
And are those the same sensations that we're talking about?
I don't know if they're the same sensations, but it might be like can feel similar. I've always had a hard time kind of differentiating, but it doesn't really feel good either.
Yeah, okay. So you were 4 at that time?
I'm guessing it might have been 4.
Okay. So snap yourself out of that for a minute if you would, because I want to talk to you. Just, change your body position, your physiology, all that kind of stuff.
Walk like an Egyptian kind of thing.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Okay. I gotta add some comic relief.
I thought that was my job, but you go ahead. It's fine.
Okay.
So the thing is that I noticed, Antonio, there's a technique called the affect bridge, and basically it's what we just did there. You feel the feelings, and then you ask yourself a question in your mind, which is go to an earlier time. Hey, unconscious mind, take me to an earlier time when I had these same sensations. And then you wait with an attitude of expectancy. You don't try to remember anything. You just see what happens. And usually within a couple of seconds, somebody comes up with something. You were already doing this earlier on before I even asked you to do it. You were saying, oh, hey, I'm thinking of this other time when blah, blah, blah. And that's, if you've ever noticed, if you've argued with somebody that you've argued with before, whenever you get in that same state with them, you remember all the other times that you argued with them. And it's like, hey, I remember in 1842 you said that same thing, and I was just as pissed then. Well, it's because memories, one way that memories are organized is that they're state dependent. So it's easier to remember other memories of the same kind when you're feeling that sensation. So all we did is we popped you into those negative feelings and said, hey, go find other times when I had this same sensation. And it's called an affect bridge. It's very easy to do. People talk about age regression as a very, very deep hypnotic phenomena. But when you know and that's true if you were just going in cold, but when you know what the negative sensations are and you use them to travel back, it's very, very easy. Now, let's see, what was that? I had an incredible important point to add, but I'll think of it as we go on. So here's the thing.
Scratch your head, that might help.
Okay, I'll do it with both hands. I'll get twice the results. So we've already got 3 events now, and one of them was when you were 4. So you did it so fast that I'm not sure where the very root cause of this is. It could be that memory that you had when you were 4. It could be something else. So let's do something right here to figure it out. So what I'd like you to do, get back to those sensations again. That feeling of overwhelm.
Okay, so not the good ones. Okay, so the bad ones.
Yeah, the bad ones.
Yeah,
there you
bad, icky ones. That's it's funny. One of my jokes: the best way to deal with memories and emotions is shove them all down. Shove them down. I'm joking, everybody. Don't do it. It's horrible. So I'm thinking of my memory of where I'm sitting in front of the big whiteboard. And that's some kind of just kind of overwhelmed, kind of blah.
Okay, good. So say to yourself inside your mind, go to the first time I had these sensations, the time that once resolved will allow this problem to dissolve completely.
Okay, say it again. So
feel the sensations and say to yourself, go to the first time I had these sensations, the time that once resolved would allow this problem to dissolve completely.
It's hard for me to pick something up. The one thing I was thinking about, I know when I was a kid, I apparently had a babysitter my parents would take me over to. I don't know how old I was, and my parents noticed every time they would take me to the babysitter, I would start screaming like, "No, I hate Bina," or whatever. Apparently, she was like she was a little shit, or I think her daughter was just beating me relentlessly.
Okay,
so I almost get that.
That's what the thought came up?
Yeah.
Okay, open your eyes, shake that off. No need to stay there any longer than necessary. Okay, so this is interesting. I don't know if that's more important than the one at 4 that we got. you know, it could be something later on. But so let's just we'll take care of all of them. And there's a variety of ways to do this, but one of the things that NLP teaches us is that dissociation tends to separate us somewhat from our emotions. So what I'd like you to do is let's take that babysitter event, whatever it is that you have of it in your mind, and can you watch that from a distance?
Yeah, it's dark, so I might be able to get it.
Yeah, whatever. Actually, before you do that, here's what I'd like you to do. You remember the good feelings?
Yep.
I'd like you to get in that state first, and you know how to do that. Remember, they're shooting out your arms and legs and then coming back into your chest and cycling faster and faster and stronger. Confidence, motivation, certainty. Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, from within that state, from a distance, watch that old memory. Confidence, certainty, motivation. As you're looking at the younger you and going to the babysitter or at the babysitter.
Okay, I can almost get like a faint kind of outline of me trying to hide behind a couch, I guess.
Okay, great. So that's exactly the younger you over there behind the couch, right? So now, from this perspective and from within these positive feelings, do you learn anything about that event?
I could. I'm sure I could.
You don't have to. I'm just curious. Remember, certainty, motivation, confidence. Keep those feelings cycling.
Looking at it, the babysitter's daughter doesn't look that intimidating now.
Okay, that's an interesting learning, and I think that's a good one. Okay, so at some point that memory is over. Maybe when you went home, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What I'd like you to do is, you probably know the NLP fast phobia cure. So you just freeze frame that. Whenever you're done with that situation, freeze frame it. Step into that memory first person, so that you're the younger you again.
Second. So you want me to go to the fast phobia cure, go to the end where I'm no longer dealing with that?
Yep.
Okay. So imagine a TV, movie screen, whatever.
Yeah, you don't have to do that. I mean, you just take the memory to the end whenever it's on to the next context.
Okay, at my parents' house, yep.
Okay, step into that memory and rewind backwards until you come out the other side, very fast.
All the way to the beginning of the babysitter?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Now do the same thing again. You're at the end. You're back home with your parents. Step into it and it'll rip backwards real fast.
Okay.
Okay, same thing. You're at the end. Step in.
Okay.
Very good. Now I want you to make it even faster, so it's like a half second long. So,
okay.
Okay. Now think about it. How does it feel?
It feels a little bit better. It's might still have some of the remnant feelings. I'm going to run through that cycle like 2 or 3 more times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it definitely feels better. Don't really feel any kind of tightness in my chest.
Okay, good. That's progress. So here's what I'd like you to do. Back into that complete confidence, certainty, motivation state. Remember those feelings cycling out and then coming back in to their beginning point and moving fast. There you go, faster and faster, more and more confidence, certainty, motivation. And now I'd like you to, having those feelings as a way of being, step back into that memory and experience that scenario differently, this time having those feelings all the way through.
It's kind of funny. I go up to her mom, kind of like tug on her, get her attention. Be like, hey, look at your little shit of a daughter. Sometimes I find myself defending myself. You know what? You know what I think I'm gonna do? I don't know if this would be appropriate. Throw some handcuffs on her just to keep her from not doing anything. That could be considered a little on the fetish side, but don't worry. I'm too young right now. We don't think about those things.
That's right.
It's almost like in this memory, I'm kind of walking around with almost like a bravado, like where I feel like I'm standing my ground, my chest is up.
Yeah, that's what the world needs, is Antonio Perez with more bravado.
Exactly. And handcuffs, the ladies, if you're interested. By the way, I have a girlfriend, so Pam, if you're watching this, this is all in the name of therapy and fun.
Yeah, it was therapy. Okay. So how is it?
It almost seems a little clear. It's still kind of hard to see. It almost seems a little clearer where I'm walking around. Even like when I walk outside, I seem happier.
Happier is good. So let me just talk to people out there in video land for a second. If you can see, Antonio's physiology has changed. He's still thinking about the incident, but he's got a smile on his face. He looks more confident, more certain. He's talked about bravado. So here's the thing. When you feel an emotion in the present time, you are actually regressed, right? So I remember back when I worked a straight job, I had a boss, and he liked to yell at his employees. And one time I saw him yelling at this guy and another employee, and he looked like he was 3 years old. I mean, his face was all screwed up, and his fists were all balled up, and he was stomping on the floor like he was a 3-year-old having a tantrum. And that helped me to realize that, in fact, when someone is experiencing an emotion, they're actually regressed to some earlier emotion, right, to some earlier incident, and they're not aware of it consciously. So what's happening is, if you have negative feelings in your current life, that's a reference to a past event. So what happens when you take the negative emotions out of that past event is that even if your mind refers back to it, there's no juice there, so it's not any kind of a problem. So the way that we're doing that for Antonio is we're using the technique called the affect bridge to take him back to these incidents. We're using dissociation to give him some distance. We're stepping in and rewinding, like in the NLP fast phobia cure. That tends to take the emotion out of events. And then we've located a resource, which are these wonderful feelings, and we stepped him into the memory with the resources. And then that just changes his reference for that experience in his life, so that even, as I said a minute ago, even if he does reference it, there's no negative emotions there. In fact, there are positive emotions for him to call up. And that's the idea. The idea is that when he looks at that goal-setting board or whatever it is he wants to accomplish in his life, he automatically goes to those feelings of motivation and certainty and confidence. So what we should probably do is do this with the other memories that we came up with for Antonio. What's going on there, Bucko?
Feel pretty good. It's kind of weird. So I know I've always been. I remember I tried to ask my parents what age I was there. I've done, like I said earlier, I've done ideomotor work before, where I've been like, hey, this part of me that's feeling this way. When did this happen? Were you under 10, under 5, blah 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 blah. And I think I've usually come around the age of 4. And I know I also do have another memory. Actually, it's something I don't consciously remember. Long story short, my parents told me about some. I think it was anywhere. I think I was anywhere from 4 to 6. You know, memories are fallible. It's really hard. I mean, you could change somebody's memory. Anyhow, I had a memory, or I know I've heard this about we had an old neighbor. Apparently, it was an African American guy, I think. Apparently, he came over to my parents' house, bawling and crying, saying something like she was killed. Apparently, his new girlfriend was killed by his ex-girlfriend in a very horrific manner, like chainsaw. It was really, really messed up stuff. So I don't know if I have any memory of that. About 2 years ago, I was doing some pendulum work at pendulum, and I was trying to resolve the stuck state or whatever it was, and I basically asked my unconscious. I got some agreement. I'm like, hey, will you be willing to show me in my dreams what happened or give me some insight? That was a pretty dumb idea because the dreams I had were absolutely horrific. I had a dream that I was with these people. They kidnapped somebody and they had like body part, and that was not fun. That was probably one of the worst nightmares I've ever had in my life.
Well, let me tell you something. You know, our personality has different aspects to it, and in NLP sometimes we refer to them as parts. And you know, Antonio, from you talked about the core transformation process. Sometimes you start working through something and other parts come up that object, you know. So one of the problems with regression in general, especially with open-ended regression, where you're using a pendulum or you're just saying, hey, go back to the root cause of this or whatever, is that other parts can come in and confuse the process. You know, maybe a part that really wanted to please you gave you an answer. You don't know if it's accurate or not. I think one of the beauties of using this affect bridge process is that since the emotions are connected together by this gestalt, you know, they're all lumped together by a particular emotion, then you're pretty sure that you're getting back to an accurate memory. And basically what you're looking for is for somebody going, oh, I don't really get anything. Oh, wait, this memory just popped up, right? If somebody comes into your office and says, look, I know what the root cause of my problem is. Here's the incident. Well, honestly, that's a more iffy situation. I don't trust the conscious mind to know what's going on in the unconscious mind. I more trust these emotions. Now, in terms of you, you know, I'm about half and half. I don't know if these incidents that we came up are directly related to this feeling of overwhelm that you've had or not. You said the feelings were similar. My guess is they're either exactly the incidents that have caused this feeling in you, or they're closely related. So I think it's going to do you some good to clear these out. Whether or not it solves this very specific problem or not, we'll see.
Boy, you're such a mind reader. I like you know, the cold readers, like it's like your name, the person that died, it began with an A, so you got your 50-50 prediction.
Well, you know, that's the thing. I distrust certainty. Not certainty in you, but
yeah.
But in terms of even these memories, right? Like you said, memories are not particularly accurate. So one of the things that I tell people that do regression is, like, our point is not whether these memories are true or not. Our point is whether we get the results that we get. And by definition, the memories aren't true, right? None of our memories are true. None of them are perfectly accurate. They all change. Even if the events actually happen, they all change with our perspective. Now, you said this incident with your next door neighbor whose girlfriend was killed. That came up as we're talking about that. Now, I would say that's probably irrelevant unless it has those same sensations, those same feelings that we talked about earlier. If it does have those same sensations, hey, let's take care of it. I mean, it doesn't sound like it's a bad thing to drain the negative emotions out of anyway, but I'm fairly targeted when I work. When somebody comes to me and says, I want to overcome overwhelm, it's like, well, let's go straight down that path, figure out exactly what caused that, and take care of it. I just don't, you know, go shotgunning all over.
This is a shotgun approach. You know you're going to blast some stuff away, but you might you might blast a vital organ as well.
Hopefully it'll be good, but you never know. So let's go to that incident when you were 4. And okay, what I'd like
the incident when I was 4, talking about the whole neighbor thing, or just trying to regress to what I think might have been.
No, you talked to, before we went back to this one. You went to one where you were 4 years old and you wandered outside with your grandparent.
Yeah. That
one. So what I'd like to do is, before you do that, I'd like you to get into that state. Remember the certainty, motivation. So you're getting good at that. And I'd like you to watch that from a distance. So you see the younger you see your grandparents.
Okay.
And I'm curious if you learn anything.
Never thought of it this way. I've never really thought of myself as a real independent person. I find myself a lot of codependency, but I look at it, and I was independent enough to walk away on my own for my grandparents.
Okay, now that's what I'm looking for. It's a shift in your frame about this incident.
At one point, even though I think I still feel, I see myself kind of humped over. Looks like I'm crying. Since I'm disassociated. I'm not really sure about the feelings, but I almost get a sense they might be It might be the same exact feelings. It's just kind of looking overwhelmed, like crying, like almost stuck there, like where I go, I don't know where to go.
Okay, this one might be it then. And I can tell from your physiology what you're actually doing is you're flipping back and forth from being associated into the memory to being dissociated and checking it out. So make sure, just for now, if you need to dissociate another level so you can see yourself, seeing yourself, you can. But remember those feelings of motivation and confidence and certainty. Remember them shooting out into space and then right back into where they start and cycling up and going more and more powerful. And now as you have those feelings here in your body, you can imagine them also shooting into that 4-year-old you and filling that 4-year-old you up with confidence and certainty and motivation. And notice how that shifts his physiology and how he acts.
See him standing up, kind of looking around.
Yeah, independently.
You know, it's funny. I know you can't see it, but my leg, there's I guess it almost started off as like a idiomotor. My right leg is just kind of moving back and forth.
Ask that leg if it to give you any message that it has that's helpful in this process.
Almost got the sense of. Let me ask it again. It says kick some ass, keep on trucking.
Okay, so this is an important and powerful aspect of your personality that wants to join in and help. So we're all for it. Thank your leg. Say, absolutely. Thanks for the message. I'm with you. So now, Antonio,
and it's funny. It stopped twitching as soon as I did the thinking it.
So that's just another energy that you have, another part that you have that's going to join in as these aspects of you become aligned and integrated toward motivating you more and helping you get done what you want to get done. That's more energy to add to that process. So I'd like you to go to the point in that memory, Antonio, where it's over, where the 4-year-old you knows you're okay, and all that, maybe after you were found. Step into that and rewind all the way through the experience.
Okay, give me a second.
Yeah, I'll get a drink of water while you're doing that. And I think you know what to do. Do it several times.
Yep. Yeah, give me a little more time.
Sure. Okay, so focus back on that feeling of motivation, certainty, and confidence. Remember the energy shooting out and then back into you right where it starts again. Cycle it up, more and more powerful with each cycle. And now step into that experience, first person, and experience it anew with these positive feelings as a way of being, and notice how it shifts for you.
This time I found myself walking over to the neighbor's house. Kind of walking up and actually talking to the neighbor.
How does it feel?
Feels good. It's almost a little bit of neutral, but also almost like that same kind of confidence. I'm walking around, young, 3, maybe 4. I'm not really sure. 5, it could be 5. Like I said, that's really irrelevant.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the way
it feels better.
When you have confidence as a way of being, you know, it reminds me of a guy who he came to me, he had claustrophobia, and he was staying in a hotel room that was up on the 8th floor, and so he had been freaked out at the hotel at the elevator, and so I worked with him, and he came back a couple days later, and I said, "What happened?" He said, "Well, I don't know. I think it might have worked." And I said, "Well, what do you mean? Did you take the elevator?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, how did it feel?" And he said, "Well, I felt like I was in a room waiting to get out." And I said, "So, like, was it different than the terror you were feeling earlier?" And he said, "Yeah, I was kind of bored." And I said, "Well, I think it probably worked." But the thing is, he'd expected, I guess, the clouds to part and a ray of sunshine to come down and the choir to sing and say, "Oh, you know, this is." But waiting in an elevator is just waiting in an elevator. When you have confidence as a way of being, you just walk around with it. It's the water that you swim in. It's your way of being.
Like a core state, almost, with like the core transformation.
Yeah, well, that's, you know, core transformation is a big part of core transformation, for those of you who don't know, is that you keep chunking up what they call the outcome chain until you get to a core state like oneness. And it's just a really, really high level criteria. And so that's a powerful resource state. Now, we got a resource state here with Antonio that was more specific to the situation, and I just got it by asking him, "Hey, what would be ideal for you if you could wave a magic wand? How could you feel?" But you know, and in some cases when you do this process, you find that you need some different motivation, or you need to pump one up, or you need some more positive feelings. So this is a little bit different. So, Antonio, has there been a project which you've been thinking about lately that seemed overwhelming?
Working on, I still feel a little bit of overwhelm in my chest. Working on that niche I told you about earlier, about the weight loss niche that I've been wanting to work on.
Okay, so when you think about working on that right now, and tell me if it feels any different than it did before we started to work on this.
A little bit different, but I think I still have a little bit of tightness in my chest cavity.
Okay, so feel that tightness in your chest cavity, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Close your eyes and say to yourself, "Go to an earlier time when I felt the same sensation."
Okay, go. Another time when I felt this same sensation. It's dark. I almost get a sense that I'm. It's hard to describe. It's really dark.
That's okay. Whatever you get is fine. Is there any sound?
can't tell if there's any sound. Can't really hear anything.
All right. What else do you notice?
I don't know if holding somebody's hand.
You might be holding somebody's hand.
Yeah, I don't see a sensation. I don't know if we're
No, that's good.
walking somewhere holding somebody's hand.
So if you can, pop out and look at it from a distance and see if you notice anything else.
This might be a conscious thought. I got a brief image of something that happened. Yeah, this is a long time ago. Might have been 2 or 3. I don't know, but there was when we lived in Michigan, Ann Arbor, Michigan. Me and my dad were walking by in front of down the street. There's this person in the they're laying on the ground, candy corn everywhere. They're on a bike. They had been hit. So I don't know if that was it. But then, just as I was describing that, there's another memory of me trying to cross the street. My dad cussing me up and down, spanking me. I almost got whacked by a car.
And when you think about that incident, do you feel the same tightness in the chest?
Yeah, I could definitely. I'm not sure if it's the one, but I can feel like remnants of it in my chest.
Okay, and so are those 2 separate memories or the same memory or what?
2 separate memories.
Okay, so when you think about them, think about one and then the other. Do they feel different in your chest or do they feel the same?
Let's see. They kind of feel the same.
Okay, so concentrate on that feeling and then say to yourself inside your mind, go to the first time I felt this feeling, the time that once resolved would allow this problem to disappear completely.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the car.
Okay. That's interesting language. You're going to have to go with the car. So you can take yourself out of that state if you like. Then you don't have to stay there.
Yeah. How? Yeah, that's not too fun. Yeah. How? So you say interesting language. What do you mean by that?
Well, I'm not sure what it means, but it's an interesting way to say it. I'm going to have to go with the car. So that's you ask the question inside your mind, and then what happened?
I just got the image of a car driving down the street.
Okay. Good. So sometimes, so when your dad yelled at you, you know, what you were feeling something as a little kid, right?
Yeah, I felt his hand on my ass.
You felt his hand on your ass. So
Yeah,
what do you think?
Is he what?
When you watch that from the outside, if you were an outsider, an adult outsider looking at that, tell me what your dad is feeling.
Terrified. Terrified that the son almost got killed by a car.
Yeah, terrified. So what does he need?
Compassion.
Compassion. You know what? That seems like a good thing to add to this mix, don't you think?
Yep.
Have you? When's the? Go in your mind right now, just to a time when you felt the most compassion.
Okay.
And where do you feel compassion in your body?
Kind of my chest,
Okay.
my jaw.
Your chest and your jaw. Interesting. So what I'd like you to do is combine that feeling, those sensations in your chest and your jaw, with the feelings of confidence and certainty and motivation.
Okay.
Now, I want you to watch that incident with the car again, and this time have those feelings not only in your body, but also flowing over to you and your dad, so that both you and your dad feel compassion, confidence, certainty, motivation, and notice how that experience shifts for them over there.
Okay, so I'm basically seeing it from the outside perspective and pushing the feelings over.
Yes, sir.
So, I see both of us hugging each other. Dad crying, he's holding me.
That's good.
And I just got a quick instance of my dad almost like he was going to risk his life, like he's going to jump in front of the car just to push me out of the way.
Yeah, do you think that actually happened?
That he actually jumped in front of it? No.
No, that he thought about it.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah. So that's good. All right. So why don't you just step into that experience then, now, with both you and your dad feeling that compassion, confidence, certainty, and notice how it shifts.
Feel more grounded.
More grounded, yeah.
Chest feels a little more solid.
So just go ahead, since it can feel a little more solid, it can probably feel a lot more solid. Just turn up the solid feeling in the chest, however you can.
Okay.
All right. Now, we didn't rewind that one. If it's not completely dissipated, we can always do that to take anything more out of it. I just thought it would be fun to just go straight for putting those resource feelings in there. Seemed like.
Dude, I could do that. I could do that really quick.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Now, what I was reading there was just it just seemed like the compassion resource just added, sort of tempered the others and added this, I don't know, it just seemed like more balanced once you added that in there. So I'm thinking maybe we'll just see. So think about the project that you were just talking about that had overwhelmed you in the past, and notice how it feels now.
Doesn't really feel as bad. I'm trying to pull it up.
You're trying to pull up the bad feelings?
Yeah. Maybe it feels like a pinpoint, if anything.
A pinpoint of the old feeling?
If anything.
If anything. So well, can you locate that pinpoint? And can you get to it?
Like right here by the third hair from my left nipple.
And there's only 4 hairs, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, so
no. I'm not gonna lift my shirt up. I'm not Greek, but I look it.
Perhaps we'll save that for another time, Antonio. But so if you would, just get in touch with whatever you feel of that, and ask it if it has a message for you, and if so, to go ahead and give it.
I said, wait, let me see. It's really not that bad. Let go of shit. You're loved.
Okay, well, that's a nice message. Thank it for delivering.
Okay.
All right. So now think about that project and notice how you feel.
It's kind of neutral. It's not like I said, it's not like the Caesar party and everything. It's I'm not jumping up to go blow down any walls.
Well, I think what we did probably then is we got rid of all the negative stuff, the negative feelings that were there that were stopping you. Adding more positive feelings would be something else that we could do. But that's, I mean, that's basically a demonstration of how the regression works. You can take an affect bridge, you follow stuff back, you find the causes, you rewind them, you put positive emotions in it, and then you come back up through all the experiences. I think we actually skipped one or two. But you come back through all the experiences and you make sure they're processed that way. And usually one of them will have a significant impact. It's just like, you know, letting the pop in a balloon or something, that when you reprocess that one, it just goes, and you, it's not such a big deal anymore.
Quick questions. There's like one other memory I could probably use it on myself. I know when I was a kid that I almost got kidnapped, which I know my parents were freaking out about it. Well, of course, kid always getting kidnapped. It was some lady from insane asylum like, "Oh, can I hold your baby?" And then her parents tried running away with me. Because, you know, crazy people do those kind of things. But is this something you think you could easily do on my own now that I kind of have an overall gist of the process?
Yeah, I think it is. It's sometimes helpful to have an outside person because, you know, it's probably easier for me to pick out things about your language or your behavior that maybe you're not aware of that give me indications of, like, there were parts of that there when we were processing stuff, and I could tell you were in between the positive and the negative states because you had some of the physiology of the positive states, but your face was different, and that's something that you couldn't see. But if you were aware of that stuff internally, yeah, you could easily do it. I do this on myself, for sure.
Sweet.
And
so
I'm
on the
not
way to
self-aware of a person.
You said what?
And I'm not that self-aware of a person.
You still haven't found a way to regrow hair, have you?
I have. I'm just saving it.
It's funny. Years ago, I've got really nice, dark Italian Mexican hair. Years ago, my abuelito, grandpa, one of our cousins, like, "Wow, you got some great hair." And so we're all happy to have really dark hair. And he's like, "I dyed my hair." We're like, "Oh no, don't scare us like that."
Well, I had great hair too, and most of it's gone, and now I just have to, you know, trade on the rest of my good looks. So that's at least I have those.
At least you can play music. If you couldn't, wow, you'd be in trouble.
I think I'm in trouble in a lot of ways. But so that's, I mean, do you have any thoughts on that regression process?
It's very, very simple. I think I might have been through like maybe one regression before. I had a couple. You know Kevin Cole. He has a really great process. Time quest transformation, I think he calls it, which it's really similar. It's almost the idea of going up, floating above timeline, going to first memory, etc.
Mm-hmm.
That was really good. And this one, I especially like it because it doesn't really seem all that difficult.
It's not. I mean, what I do is I strip things down and make them as simple and logical as possible. And when you look at the affect bridge is a very simple regression technique, and it works really well. The rewinding part from the fast phobia cure, there's an NLP process called re-imprinting where you put resources in along a timeline. You can use this process with timelines. It's easy. I mean, what you do is you anchor the positive, or you anchor the negative feeling, and you walk them backwards along the timeline, and you say stop anywhere where you feel this emotion, and they stop, and you step them off, and you look at it. So it's this exact process with a timeline. So what I've done is I've put together the pieces from various NLP and hypnotic processes that I think work really well, and made them into this thing that I call hybrid regression therapy. And the reason that I made it is because it's quick, it's simple, and it works really well.
Yeah, it's
Didn't mean to bore you.
No, trance work usually, I'm like, oh, I'm tired. That's one thing I've been trying to do some meditation lately at night, where if I get home from work, I try doing some meditation, I wake up and I'm like, I'm like, oh, damn. I was trying to do that with core transformation, and I kept on falling asleep.
It's a really good sign, actually. It means, because what happens is your brain has thought of things in a certain way. And when you do a piece of core transformation or a regression therapy that really works well, what happens is that your brain has to go back and evaluate your life with this new perspective. And so oftentimes you'll see this kind of look on people's face where they'll go, huh. You know, and you'll hear comments like, well, I never really thought about it that way before. And so that's an indication to me that there's a lot of processing going on. And sometimes you can get tired after these processes. Me, yeah, I do too as well sometimes.
It's just how it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, okay, everybody, this is where the dirty sales pitch comes in. Now, the regression product you have, what can you describe it? Like what it covers and what people are going to learn? Yeah,
it's well, there's two versions. There's a physical and a digital version, and they have the same content. But the physical version is a workbook, a CD, and a DVD. And digital version, same content, just in digital form. So you get an explanation of how regression works, several different techniques to do regressions with, the DVD, you know, and all the procedures laid out for you step by step in diagrams. The DVD shows me doing a session. And the audio CD explains the concepts in depth. So basically, everything that you need to know to do regression in more than one way.
Nice. And what I'm going to do for everybody that buys this product through my affiliate link. So you have to do it through my affiliate link. And if you don't know what affiliate link is, it's your way of saying thanks for us producing these wonderful podcasts. You buy through my affiliate link either above or below this video, or even somewhere on this video by his face, covering his face up. You'll get a free copy of this video. I'll find a way to mail it to you, maybe via Dropbox. Give you some kind of download link, so you can also have an additional video you can watch him demonstrate the process.
That's a great idea. It's always useful to have more than one reference for things and to see things work in different contexts. That's my goal is to bring something to people that makes it easier for them to help people, to give them confidence in doing some of these techniques. So that, because you know, Antonio, I love NLP, I love hypnosis. I want people to be able to use it effectively. So that's why I put this program together.
Yeah, I've got a couple of his programs, very, very high quality programs. Program on rapport is excellent.
Thank you.
Program on, yeah, you're welcome. The program on making high quality recordings is excellent. Everything's good.
Well, thank you, Antonio. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Now, what is the price of this groundbreaking program?
It's let's see. I think it's $109 for the digital version, and I think the physical version is $15 or $20 more, because that's what it cost me to make and ship. So it's a little.
It's not bad.
Now, you know, if you're working as a therapist, it's a session or maybe two. If you're and if you get effective with these techniques, people will hear about this kind of stuff. You should be able to say, hey, look, I do regression. I have this specialized training. It's hybrid regression therapy, and it's really fast, really effective. And you can. This is one of those things that you can take to the big guns, the biggest things that you can experience. So if somebody's been a prisoner of war or tortured or raped or something like this, I've used these techniques on subjects that are that serious, and it's very possible to deal with. So it's a powerful tool.
Yeah, but I also, on the same token, I also think some of the more heavy issues might also go with a lot of experience. I know you've been doing this for quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I learned early on not to be scared of the big things, but you know, I've dealt with some very serious issues, and they don't. I hesitate to say this, but they're not necessarily harder than other situations. They tend to involve a lot more emotion, but if you're not scared of that emotion, then you deal with it, and it tends to have profound positive effects on people. But, you know, if you don't want to tackle something, of course, if you don't feel qualified to tackle something, you shouldn't.
No, it's funny you talk about when you're not scared of emotions. I was going through one of Igor's the Beyond Self-Hypnosis program the past month or so, and he's talking about having a benign attention. If you're doing like visualization, you get something that's very, very traumatic or potentially scary, you just kind of sit there with maybe a sense of like curiosity, wonder, and it totally changes everything.
Yeah, well, it's people want to be empathetic, but if you're too much of an empath, you'll just go down the drain with them. So if you really want to be the most caring, most helpful human being, your job is to stay resourceful, and that's, you know, it's not that difficult to do. And you know, unless I hit some subject that triggers me emotionally, I'm able to do it, and I think that's happened maybe once in the 15, 20 years I've been doing this. See, 1993 I got my certification, so yeah, that's a lot of years.
Yeah, so that's quite a few years. So you've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Oh yeah, for sure. You get it all.
So folks, look either above this video or below it. You will see a link. So go ahead and take a look at this. Oh, and what's the return policy on it? Was it
I have
3 years?
I have a 90-day return policy.
That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I do. I mean, there are some conditions to it. Like if you buy one of my products and then 3 weeks later you buy another one, I'm saying you're satisfied with the first one. So, and of course, if there are any defective CDs or DVDs or anything like that, I'll replace those.
I'm going to do some math. Wow, so basically that's, okay, 109 for digital divided by 90. So that's like $1 a day to test this out. If you're not happy, you return it.
You are a salesperson, Antonio.
Yeah, dude, that's the same thing as it's only a cup of coffee. You buy coffee, right?
Here's the way I look at it. It's one session.
Yeah, it's easy.
Yep.
And, you know, folks, think about it this way. If you've ever spent more than, let's say, $900 in your lifetime on different trainings, products, this product's going to easily feel like it's worth $500. The thing only costs freaking just over $100. That's a huge savings on your investment.
Well, it took me a lot of years to figure out how to do this and how to put this particular process together. That's for sure.
And then you did it, and you did it with a smile. Yeah, that nice goofy smile.
This has been a great session. I want to thank you for putting up with me.
Oh, definitely. Thank you. This is something that I've been wanting to work on for a while. I gotta go work on some of the projects, or I might actually go to the beach since it's Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day, everybody, and thanks to everybody that has served and is continuing to serve. And everybody, look forward. I'm actually going to be doing some more of these. I'm calling them the gimme free sessions, and I'll help you promote your stuff.
Get your problems taken care of at the same time.
Yeah. Make it a contest. And who knows? Him and I might do another one pretty soon.
You've got more problems, I know.
Yeah, I know. I've got, like I said earlier, I've got more than Playboy. So everybody, click above or below if you want. Share this this podcast. Share it with a friend. Have fun, everybody. I will talk to you guys soon. Aloha.
Talk to you soon, Antonio.